Listen carefully, because this is not just another speech. This is a confrontation between who you are and who you are capable of becoming. Right now, at this very moment, there is a war happening inside you, not outside, inside, and the truth is brutal. Most people lose this war without even realizing they were fighting. Your greatest enemy is not your circumstances. It is not your past. It is not the people who doubt you. Your greatest enemy is the voice in your own mind that says, "Not today," that whispers, "You're not ready," that convinces you to wait, to hesitate, to settle. That voice has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. But today, you end this, you must understand one principle. A weak mind obeys its emotions. A powerful mind commands them. You say you want success, but your actions follow comfort. You say you want greatness, but your habits follow excuses. This contradiction is your inner enemy, and until you destroy it, nothing changes. Clarity is your first weapon. A confused mind is an easy target. When you don't know exactly what you want, you become a slave to distractions, to fear, to every opinion that shakes your direction. Decide, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Decide who you are. Decide what you stand for. Decide where you are going. Because once the mind becomes clear, hesitation dies. But clarity alone is not enough. You must develop discipline so strong that it silences emotion. Because emotions will lie to you. They will tell you to quit when things get hard. They will tell you to rest when you should push. They will tell you to doubt when you should believe. And if you listen, you lose. Discipline is not something you wait to feel. It is something you choose again and again, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Because pain is not your enemy. Pain is your teacher. Every time you avoid discomfort, you strengthen your weakness. Every time you face it, you strengthen your power. Understand this. Growth demands a price, and that price is discomfort. Now let's go deeper. Your thoughts are the architects of your reality. Every action you take begins as a thought. Every failure, every success, every result starts in your mind. So if your thoughts are weak, your life will reflect weakness. If your thoughts are powerful, your life will reflect power. You cannot entertain doubt and expect confidence. You cannot feed fear and expect courage. You must become ruthless with your mind. Cut off negative thinking the moment it appears. Replace it with certainty. Replace it with belief. Replace it with vision. Because whatever you consistently think, you become, and this leads to the most dangerous truth of all. You don't get what you wish for. You don't get what you hope for. You get what you are. If you see yourself as average, you will create an average life. If you see yourself as weak, you will act weak. But the moment you change your identity, everything changes. When you begin to see yourself as disciplined, you act disciplined. When you see yourself as unstoppable, you become unstoppable. This is not motivation. This is law. So ask yourself right now, who are you becoming? Not who you want to be, not who you pretend to be, but who are you becoming through your daily actions? Because your inner enemies are not defeated by words. They are defeated by decisions. Decisions repeated daily. Decisions that hurt. Decisions that demand sacrifice. This is the price of power. Most people will hear this and do nothing. They will go back to their comfort, their excuses, their distractions. But you cannot afford that, because deep down you already know the truth. You were not created to live a small life. You were not designed to be controlled by fear, by doubt, by weakness. You were built for more, but potential means nothing without action. So here is your moment. Not tomorrow, not right now. Kill the excuses. Silence the doubt. Destroy the version of you that keeps holding you back, and rise as the person you were meant to be, because the day you conquer yourself is the day you conquer everything. The real battle is within, and most people are losing it in silence every single day, not because they are weak in body, not because they lack opportunity, but because they have surrendered control of their own mind. You wake up with intentions, but your thoughts betray you. You make plans, but your emotions sabotage you. You promise yourself change, yet fall back into the same patterns that have kept you stuck for years. This is not coincidence. This is the work of your inner enemies. Fear, doubt, hesitation, and the dangerous comfort of delay. You think the world is holding you back, but it is not the world. It is the quiet voice inside you that negotiates with your potential. The voice that says, just one more day, you're not ready, what if you fail? That voice has cost you more than any external obstacle ever could. It has robbed you of action, drained your confidence, and convinced you to accept less than what you are capable of becoming. And the most dangerous part is that it sounds like you. It feels like truth. But it is nothing more than conditioned weakness repeating itself. Understand this with absolute clarity. Your mind is not designed to make you successful. It is designed to keep you safe. And safety is the enemy of greatness. Every time you step toward growth, your mind will resist. It will create excuses that feel logical. It will generate fear that feels real. It will replay past failures to keep you from taking present action. This is not an accident. This is a mechanism. And if you do not learn to override it, you will spend your entire life obeying limits that were never real to begin with. The strongest individuals are not those who feel no fear, but those who act in spite of it. They have learned to separate feeling from decision. They understand that emotion is temporary, but action creates identity. When you wait to feel motivated, you give power to your inner enemy. When you act without waiting, you take that power back. This is where transformation begins, not in comfort, not in inspiration, but in disciplined action taken under pressure. You must become ruthless with your excuses. Every excuse you tolerate becomes a chain that binds your future. You say you don't have time, yet you waste hours in distraction. You say you are tired, yet you have energy for everything except what matters. You say the timing is not right, yet you ignore the fact that time is passing regardless. These are not reasons, these are patterns. And patterns, once repeated, become identity. Break the pattern and you break the limitation. But breaking it requires something most people avoid: discomfort. The moment you push beyond what is easy, your inner resistance will rise. Your mind will search for a way out. It will try to convince you to stop, to slow down, to return to what is familiar. This is the exact moment where most people fail, not because they cannot continue, but because they choose not to. They choose comfort over growth, and in doing so, they strengthen the very enemy they are trying to defeat. Pain is not your punishment. It is your signal. It is the indicator that you are stepping into a higher version of yourself. Every moment of struggle is shaping your discipline, sharpening your focus, and building the mental strength required to operate at a higher level. If you avoid pain, you avoid growth. If you embrace it, you accelerate your transformation. Control of the mind is the highest form of power. Because once you control your thoughts, you control your actions, and once you control your actions, you control your results. There is no external force that can stop a person who has mastered their internal world. No criticism, no failure, no obstacle can break someone who refuses to break themselves. This is the level of authority you must develop. Guard your thoughts with intensity. Do not allow negativity to settle. Do not entertain doubt longer than a moment. Replace it immediately with direction, with purpose, with certainty. The mind, when left undisciplined, becomes chaotic. But when trained, it becomes a weapon. A weapon that cuts through fear, eliminates hesitation, and drives you forward regardless of circumstances. You are not defined by what you feel in a moment of weakness. You are defined by what you do in that moment. When everything inside you says stop, and you choose to continue, you rewrite your identity. You prove to yourself that you are not controlled by impulse, not ruled by emotion, not limited by fear. This is how self-mastery is built. One decision at a time, one action at a time, one victory over your inner resistance at a time. There is no shortcut. No external solution will save you from an undisciplined mind. You can change your environment, your routine, even your goals, but if you do not change your internal control, you will recreate the same struggles in a different form. The battlefield remains the same. Your thoughts, your choices, your response to pressure. Face it directly. Stop running from it. Stop distracting yourself from it. The fight you avoid today becomes the weakness you carry tomorrow. The battle within demands your full attention, your full commitment, your full strength. Because everything you want on the outside is waiting on what you conquer on the inside. Clarity crushes confusion, and confusion is the silent killer of ambition. It doesn't scream, it doesn't announce its presence. It slowly poisons your direction until you find yourself busy, exhausted, and still going nowhere. Most people are not failing because they lack talent or opportunity. They are failing because they lack clarity. They wake up without a defined target, move without intention, and then wonder why their efforts produce nothing but frustration. A confused mind cannot execute with power. It hesitates, overthinks, and second-guesses every move. One moment you feel inspired, the next moment you are lost again, chasing distractions that pull you further away from progress. This cycle repeats until days turn into months and months turn into years, all without meaningful change. This is what confusion does. It keeps you in motion without allowing you to move forward. Clarity, on the other hand, is ruthless. It removes options. It eliminates noise. It forces you to face one path and commit to it fully. And that is why most people avoid it. Because the moment you become clear about what you want, you also become responsible for pursuing it. There are no more excuses, no more hiding behind uncertainty, no more blaming circumstances. Clarity exposes your potential and demands action. You cannot drift your way into success. You cannot casually hope your way into greatness. Every powerful outcome begins with a precise decision. What do you want? Not a vague idea, not a general direction, but a specific, undeniable target. The clearer the vision, the stronger the execution. When your mind knows exactly where it is going, it stops entertaining distractions. It stops negotiating with doubt. It locks in and moves with purpose. Indecision is the breeding ground of fear. When you are unclear, every option feels risky. Every step feels uncertain. You begin to question yourself, your abilities, your timing. This is where most people freeze. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect feeling, but perfection never arrives. And while they wait, time continues to move, opportunities continue to pass, and their confidence slowly erodes. Clarity eliminates this paralysis. It gives you direction even when conditions are not perfect. It allows you to act despite uncertainty because your focus is stronger than your fear. You may not have every answer, but you have enough certainty to take the next step. And that is all that is required to create momentum. Momentum is built on clarity. When you know what must be done, you waste no time debating. You move, you execute, you adapt. Every action reinforces your direction, and every result sharpens your understanding. This is how progress compounds, not through endless planning, but through clear thinking followed by decisive action. But clarity is not something you stumble upon. It is something you create. It requires honesty, brutal honesty. You must confront your distractions, your excuses, your tendencies to avoid commitment. You must strip away everything that does not align with your goal. This process is uncomfortable because it forces you to let go of options that feel safe. But holding on to too many options is exactly what keeps you stuck. Focus is the price of clarity. You cannot chase everything and expect to achieve anything meaningful. Every time you divide your attention, you dilute your power. Every time you say yes to something that does not serve your goal, you say no to your potential. Clarity demands sacrifice. It demands that you choose what matters most and give it your full energy. The strongest minds operate with precision. They know what they want, why they want it, and what must be done to achieve it. There is no confusion in their movement. There is no hesitation in their decisions. They are not distracted by every opportunity or discouraged by every obstacle. Their clarity acts as a shield, protecting them from the chaos that surrounds them. Your environment will always be noisy. There will always be opinions, trends, distractions, and competing priorities trying to pull you in different directions. If your mind is not clear, you will be controlled by that noise. You will react instead of act. You will follow instead of lead. You will settle instead of rise. Clarity gives you control. It anchors you. It reminds you of your purpose when things become difficult. It keeps you aligned when temptation appears. It allows you to filter everything through a single question. Does this move me closer to where I am going or further away from it? And once you have that filter, your decisions become sharper, faster, and more powerful. You do not need more information. You do not need more options. You do not need more time. What you need is a decision, a clear, committed, unwavering decision about who you are, what you want, and what you are willing to do to achieve it. Because once that decision is made, confusion has no place to exist. It is replaced by direction, by action, by relentless forward movement. Everything changes the moment your mind becomes clear. Your energy shifts, your focus sharpens, your discipline strengthens. You stop wasting time on things that do not matter and start investing every ounce of effort into what does. This is where real power begins, not in endless thinking, but in decisive clarity that drives unstoppable execution, discipline over emotion, because emotion is unstable, unpredictable, and often deceptive, while discipline is controlled, consistent, and unbreakable. Most people build their entire life around how they feel, and that is exactly why they never reach where they are capable of going. They wait to feel motivated, they wait to feel ready, they wait to feel confident, and in that waiting they lose time, energy, and opportunity. Emotion becomes their master, and they become its servant. Feelings change by the hour. One moment you feel powerful, the next moment you feel doubt. One moment you are ready to conquer everything, the next moment you question your own ability. If your actions are tied to these fluctuations, your results will always remain inconsistent. You cannot build a powerful life on a weak foundation, and emotion by its very nature is a weak foundation. It cannot be trusted to guide decisions that demand strength, focus, and long-term commitment. Discipline is different. Discipline does not ask how you feel. It does not negotiate with your excuses. It does not slow down when things become uncomfortable. It operates on decision, not emotion. It follows a standard, not a mood. When you build discipline, you remove the need for motivation. You eliminate the dependency on external inspiration. You act because you decided to act, not because you feel like it. This is where most people struggle. They are addicted to comfort. They want progress without pressure, results without sacrifice, growth without pain. But discipline demands the opposite. It demands that you move when it is hard. It demands that you show up when you are tired. It demands that you continue when everything inside you is telling you to stop. This is not easy, and it is not supposed to be. The difficulty is what separates those who talk from those who transform. Every time you choose discipline over emotion, you strengthen your identity. You prove to yourself that you are in control, that you are not a slave to temporary feelings, that your standards are higher than your excuses. This repetition builds confidence, not the kind that comes from words, but the kind that comes from evidence. You begin to trust yourself because you know you will act regardless of how you feel. On the other hand, every time you choose emotion over discipline, you weaken that trust. You tell yourself that your word does not matter, that your commitments are flexible, that your goals are optional. This internal message accumulates over time, shaping how you see yourself. And once your self-image is weak, your actions will follow that weakness. Discipline is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. It is about doing what must be done, even when it is inconvenient, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it feels impossible. You may not perform at your best every day, but you show up every day. You move forward every day. You refuse to break the standard you have set for yourself. Understand the power in this. Small actions repeated with discipline create massive results. It is not the intensity of one moment that defines your success, but the consistency of your behavior over time. Emotion will push you for a day, maybe a week. Discipline will carry you for a lifetime. That is the difference. There will be days when you feel nothing, no motivation, no excitement, no drive, just resistance. Those are the days that matter the most. Because when you act in those moments, you are not relying on emotion. You are operating from principle. You are proving that your commitment is real. Anyone can act when they feel inspired. Very few can act when they feel nothing. Pain will be present. Fatigue will be present. Doubt will attempt to enter your mind. This is where discipline becomes your shield. It blocks the noise. It keeps you moving. It reminds you that your feelings are temporary, but your actions have permanent consequences. If you stop, you delay your growth. If you continue, you accelerate it. You must also understand that discipline creates freedom. It may feel restrictive in the moment, forcing you to follow a structure, to maintain a standard, to push beyond comfort. But over time, it builds control. Control over your time, your energy, your results. Without discipline, you are controlled by impulse. With discipline, you control your direction. There is no external force that can give you this. No one can hand you discipline. It is built in the quiet moments, in the decisions no one sees, in the actions you take when there is no reward, no recognition, no immediate result. This is where real strength is developed, not in public, but in private, not in comfort, but in pressure. You have a choice in every moment. Follow how you feel or follow what you decided. One leads to inconsistency, the other leads to power. One keeps you stuck, the other moves you forward. This choice may seem small in a single moment, but over time it defines everything: your identity, your results, your future. If you want to rise above the average, you must operate above emotion. You must set a standard that does not change based on your mood. You must build a system that forces action regardless of how you feel, because in the end, it is not your intentions that shape your life, it is your actions. And your actions must be driven by discipline, not emotion. Master your thoughts or be ruled by them. There is no middle ground, no safe space, no neutral position where you can escape the consequences of your own mind. Every moment you are either in control, directing your thinking with purpose, or you are being controlled, reacting to thoughts that were never chosen consciously. Most people don't realize this, and that ignorance becomes their greatest weakness. They believe they are thinking when in reality they are being driven by patterns, fears, and conditioning they never questioned. Your mind is powerful, but it is not automatically disciplined. Left unchecked, it will wander toward negativity, toward doubt, toward fear. It will replay past failures, exaggerate future risks, and create stories that limit your potential. This is not because you are incapable, but because the mind, without direction, defaults to protection. It tries to keep you safe by keeping you small, and if you allow it, it will build a prison so convincing that you won't even attempt to escape. Every thought you entertain has weight. It shapes your perception, influences your decisions, and ultimately defines your actions. If your thoughts are filled with doubt, your actions will reflect hesitation. If your thoughts are filled with fear, your actions will reflect avoidance. This is the silent chain that binds most people. They try to change their results without changing their thinking, and as a result, they repeat the same outcomes again and again. To master your thoughts, you must first become aware of them. You must observe them without immediately believing them. Not every thought deserves your trust. Not every idea in your mind is truth. Some are echoes of past failures. Some are borrowed fears from others. Some are habits formed over years of repetition. When you begin to see this clearly, you create distance between yourself and your thoughts. You stop reacting automatically and start choosing deliberately. Control begins with interruption. The moment a negative thought enters your mind, you must challenge it. Do not allow it to settle. Do not give it time to grow. Cut it off and replace it with something stronger, something aligned with your purpose. This is not denial, this is direction. You are not ignoring reality, you are choosing the perspective that empowers action rather than paralysis. Consistency is the key. One positive thought will not transform your life, just as one negative thought will not destroy it. But repeated patterns will. If you allow negativity to repeat, it becomes belief. If you replace it with strength consistently, that becomes belief. And belief drives behavior. This is how identity is formed, not in a single moment, but through repeated control of your internal dialogue. Most people underestimate the power of their inner voice. They speak to themselves with doubt, with criticism, with limitation, and then wonder why they feel weak. If you constantly tell yourself that you are not enough, your mind will accept it as truth. If you constantly remind yourself of your strength, your ability, your direction, your mind will begin to align with that message. The words you repeat internally shape the reality you experience externally. There will be moments when your thoughts feel overwhelming, when doubt comes strong, when fear feels real, when your confidence is tested. These are the moments that define your level of control. Anyone can think positively when everything is going well. True mastery is revealed when pressure rises, when your environment becomes uncertain, when results are not immediate, when challenges appear without warning. In these moments, your thoughts will either anchor you or break you. If you have trained your mind, it will respond with focus. It will remind you of your purpose. It will push you forward despite the discomfort. But if you have neglected this training, your mind will react with fear. It will magnify the problem, weaken your resolve, and convince you to step back instead of stepping forward. This is the difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck. Your environment influences your thoughts, but it does not control them unless you allow it. You may be surrounded by negativity, by doubt, by people who do not believe in your vision. But their voices only gain power if they become your thoughts. Once you internalize external negativity, it becomes harder to break. That is why you must guard your mind with intensity. Be selective about what you listen to, what you watch, what you allow into your mental space. Mastery of thought requires discipline, just like any other skill. It is not something you achieve once and forget. It is something you practice daily, moment by moment. You correct yourself when you drift. You redirect your focus when distractions appear. You reinforce your purpose when doubt tries to weaken it. This ongoing effort builds mental strength, the kind that does not break under pressure. There is no external solution that can compensate for a lack of internal control. You can have opportunities, resources, support, but if your thoughts are working against you, you will sabotage your own progress. On the other hand, if your thoughts are aligned with strength, clarity, and purpose, even limited resources can be transformed into powerful results. Everything begins in the mind. Every action, every decision, every outcome is preceded by thought. If you master that starting point, you influence everything that follows. If you neglect it, you lose control before the action even begins. This is why the battle is internal, why the discipline is mental, why the victory is determined long before it is visible on the outside. You are not your thoughts, but you are responsible for them. And that responsibility is where your power lies. Pain is a signal, not a stop sign. Yet most people treat it as a command to retreat. The moment discomfort appears, they slow down, they hesitate, they question their path, and eventually they turn back. Not because they are incapable, but because they have been conditioned to avoid anything that feels difficult. This conditioning has created a generation that confuses struggle with failure and discomfort with danger. But the truth is far more powerful. Pain is not here to destroy you, it is here to direct you. Every level of growth introduces a new level of resistance. When you push beyond your limits, your mind and body react. Muscles burn, thoughts become heavy, doubt begins to whisper. This reaction is natural. It is the system adjusting to expansion. But most people misinterpret it. They see pain as a warning that they are doing something wrong, when in reality it is often the exact opposite. It is proof that you are stepping beyond what is familiar, beyond what is easy, beyond what has kept you average. Comfort has never created strength. It has never built resilience. It has never produced anything extraordinary. Comfort maintains, but it does not transform. Pain, on the other hand, forces adaptation. It forces you to dig deeper, to find strength you did not know you had, to develop discipline that comfort could never demand. This is why those who embrace discomfort move forward while others remain stuck in the same cycle. The problem is not pain itself. The problem is the meaning you attach to it. If you believe pain is a signal to stop, you will stop. If you believe pain is a sign of progress, you will continue. This single shift in perception changes everything. G. It turns obstacles into opportunities, resistance into reinforcement, struggle into strength. The external experience remains the same, but your internal response becomes powerful instead of limiting. There will be moments when the pressure feels overwhelming, when the effort required seems greater than what you can give, when your mind begins to search for relief, for an easier path, for a way out. This is where most people break, not because they have reached their limit, but because they have reached their tolerance for discomfort. And that tolerance can be expanded. Every time you push through pain, you increase your capacity. What once felt impossible becomes manageable. What once felt heavy becomes lighter. This is the process of growth, not a sudden transformation, but a gradual expansion of your limits. But this expansion only happens if you stay in the moment of discomfort long enough for adaptation to occur. If you escape too early, you reset the process and remain where you started. Pain also reveals truth. It exposes your weaknesses, your lack of preparation, your areas that require improvement. Without it, you would remain unaware, comfortable in ignorance, believing you are stronger than you actually are. Pain removes that illusion. It shows you exactly where you stand. And while that realization may be difficult, it is necessary, because you cannot improve what you refuse to see. At the same time, pain is not something to be feared. It is something to be understood. There is a difference between pain that signals growth and pain that signals damage. One pushes you forward, the other pulls you back. Learning to distinguish between the two is part of mastery, but avoiding all discomfort out of fear will keep you trapped in limitation. Growth requires calculated pressure, not reckless destruction, but also not passive avoidance. Your mind will always try to protect you from pain. It will suggest stopping, delaying, choosing the easier option. This is its nature. But your responsibility is to decide whether that protection is serving you or limiting you. In many cases, the discomfort you feel is not danger, it is resistance to change. And if you always obey that resistance, you will never evolve. Strength is built in moments when quitting feels justified, but you choose to continue, when everything inside you is asking for relief, and you give it effort instead. These are the moments that redefine your identity. They prove that you are not controlled by immediate sensation, that you can operate beyond temporary discomfort, that your vision is stronger than your urge to stop